Steak-'em sandwich steaks. They're 100% pure beef and nothing else.
Sloppy Joe's, made with your fresh ground beef plus Hunt's Manwich sauce.
Step back in time as we uncover the culinary disasters that haunted American dinner tables in the 1950s to the 1980s. Imagine a world where gelatin salads and liver loaf reign supreme, leaving taste buds cringing and families baffled. From Spam casseroles to jellied beef molds, we're diving into the era's most reviled dishes that vanished from the family table. Join us on this nostalgic, cringe-worthy journey from aspic to meatloaf cake as we explore the worst foods that defined and defied mid-century American cuisine. Buckle up for 1 hour of the worst foods that vanished from the family table. Utopia. When every kid wanted a drink that tasted vaguely tropical and came in a neon-colored bottle with a far-out name, Fruitopia aimed to be that drink, capitalizing on the health craze of the era while masking the truth. It was mostly just sugar water with a touch of artificial fruit flavor. Sure, the commercials were epic. Sentient Fruit sang about the power of passion awareness, whatever that means, and skateboarders defied gravity with the supposed energy boost of a strawberry kiwi ruckus. But beneath the colorful packaging and wacky names lurked a not-so-secret truth. While Fruitopia might have boasted flavors like tangerine wavelength and citrus consciousness, a glance at the ingredients list revealed a different story. High fructose corn syrup reigned supreme, offering a cheap sugar rush but little in the way of actual fruit or health benefits. Health-conscious parents quickly saw through the facade, realizing their kids were basically guzzling glorified sugar water. Pork brains and milk gravy. Back in the 20th century, particularly in the southern United States, there was a peculiar canned food called pork brains and milk gravy. This delicacy featured pork brains floating in a creamy, milky sauce. Sold primarily during the mid-1900s, it was considered a budget-friendly option, typically priced at around 50 cents to $1 per can. Surprisingly, this canned oddity gained a small but devoted following in some regions, especially among those who enjoyed traditional Southern cuisine. Notwithstanding its niche popularity, pork brains and milk gravy eventually faded into obscurity due to its unconventional ingredients and perceived unappetizing appearance. While some adventurous eaters may have found it intriguing, most consumers were put off eating brains, especially in a creamy context. Today, this canned curiosity is remembered chiefly as a quirky relic of culinary history, with few clamoring for its return to supermarket shelves.
Oh no, he's gonna be home any minute, and I haven't even started dinner yet. What would my mother do? Of course, whole chicken in a can.
Whole chicken. Canned whole chicken, an intriguing yet unsettling product, emerged in the mid-20th century, primarily during the 1950s and 60s. It was sold for about $2 to $3 per can and was marketed as a convenient meal option, offering a fully cooked chicken preserved in a gelatinous broth. Despite its practical appeal, the canned whole chicken never gained widespread popularity. One of the most striking features of this product was its presentation. Opening a can revealed a whole chicken, including bones, submerged in a thick, jelly-like substance. While some consumers found the concept convenient, others were put off by the unappetizing appearance and the texture of the gelatinous broth. Concerns about food safety and quality arose, as the preservation methods used for canned whole chickens sometimes resulted in undesirable flavors or textures. As a result, sales of this canned delicacy remained limited, appealing mainly to those seeking extreme convenience or novelty. Over time, as consumer taste evolved and preferences shifted towards fresher, higher quality foods, the popularity of canned whole chicken waned.
Let me know in the comments if y'all eat this canned beef tripe in milk. I saw this at my local Food Lion for $10.99.
Beef tripe. Canned beef tripe, featuring cow stomach lining, appeared primarily in the mid-20th century from the 1950s to the 1970s. It was considered a budget-friendly option, typically priced at around $2 to $3 per can. However, despite its affordability, canned beef tripe never gained widespread popularity. The tripe was often preserved in a brine solution, which helped maintain its flavor and texture. However, many consumers found its chewy texture and strong smell off-putting, leading to its limited appeal. While tripe is enjoyed in some cuisines worldwide, the concept of consuming it from a can did not resonate with most consumers. As a result, sales remained low and canned beef tripe eventually faded into obscurity. Turtle soup. Turtle soup, a curious canned delicacy, flourished in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Sold primarily in the US and Europe, it cost around $1 or $2 per can, making it relatively affordable. While not as popular as more conventional soups like chicken noodles or tomato, turtle soup still garnered a modest following among adventurous eaters and those seeking exotic culinary experiences. One of the defining characteristics of turtle soup was its gelatinous texture, which some found off-putting while others appreciated for its unique mouthfeel. The soup was typically made from turtle meat simmered with vegetables and spices to create a rich, flavorful broth. However, as attitudes toward wildlife conservation and animal welfare evolved, the consumption of turtle meat fell out of favor. Combined with changing taste and preferences, turtle soup gradually faded into obscurity, becoming a relic of a bygone era rather than a staple of modern cuisine. But amidst the fascination for unconventional delicacies, did canned rattlesnake, with its compelling promise of snake meat, ever rival the popularity of turtle soup?
What does that say? Live rattlesnake? What's in there?
It's like deep fried duck.
It's going to be KFC.
Don't fuck with the kernel.
This is a little KFC.
Can you imagine eating that cold?
Duck confit. Canned duck confit, featuring duck legs preserved in their fat, hit the market in the 1960s. It was priced at around $1.75 per can and was marketed as a gourmet convenient meal option for food enthusiasts. Initially, it was popular among those who appreciated traditional French cuisine but needed more time to prepare it from scratch. However, canned duck confit faced significant challenges. The preservation process left the duck legs with a greasy texture that many found unappealing. The flavor, although rich, was often overshadowed by the overwhelming greasiness, which deterred many potential customers. Despite efforts to market it as a luxurious, ready-to-eat meal, canned duck confit struggled to gain widespread acceptance. People who enjoyed duck confit preferred freshly prepared versions, finding the canned alternative inferior. By the 80s, as culinary standards and preferences evolved, sales of canned duck confit had significantly declined. The canned duck confit failed to captivate consumers with its greasy texture and lackluster flavor. But what if another French delicacy faced similar challenges? Could canned escargot, preserved in brine, have encountered comparable obstacles despite its gourmet allure? Oreo Big Stuff. The Oreo Big Stuff burst onto the snack scene, offering a supersized version of the beloved classic cookie. However, while the concept seemed enticing at first glance, the reality fell short of expectations. These colossal cookies proved to be more cumbersome than enjoyable, with their unwieldy size making them difficult to eat. Many found themselves struggling to handle the sheer bulk of the Big Stuff, leading to messy and impractical snacking experiences. Even with their promise of delivering more of the iconic Oreo flavor, consumers quickly grew weary of the logistical challenges posed by these oversized treats. Consequently, the Oreo Big Stuff had a brief stint on the market before ultimately fading into obscurity. While innovation is often celebrated in the food industry, this particular venture serves as a reminder that bigger isn't always better, especially when it comes to beloved classics like the Oreo cookie. Fishballs. Canned fish balls made from ground fish formed into balls and preserved in a savory, often fishy sauce were introduced in the 1940s. Priced at about 30 cents per can, they aim to offer a convenient seafood option for busy households. Initially, they found some popularity, particularly in regions where fresh seafood was less accessible. However, canned fish balls faced several issues. The fishy smell and taste were too strong for many consumers, and the texture was often described as rubbery or mushy. These qualities made them less appealing than fresh seafood or other canned fish products like tuna or salmon. Attempts to enhance the recipe with different sauces or seasonings did not significantly boost their popularity. By the 70s, as consumer preferences shifted towards fresher and higher quality foods, Sales of canned fish balls declined sharply. Most brands discontinued them by the 1980s. Steak-'em. Steak-'em emerged as a popular option for convenient meals, offering thinly sliced frozen steak that could be quickly prepared at home. Marketed as a time-saving solution for busy households, Steak-'em promised the appeal of steak without the hassle of traditional preparation. However, despite its convenience, the product faced criticism for its lackluster flavor and occasionally chewy texture. Many consumers found Steak-'em to be a poor substitute for fresh steak, lacking the rich taste and tenderness that is typically associated with the dish. Notwithstanding its shortcomings, Steak-'em remained popular among some consumers who valued its convenience over its taste. However, for many others, the lack of flavor and less than ideal texture overshadowed any convenience it offered, relegating Steak-'em to the list of the worst foods from the 1980s that are best left in the past. While it may have been a hit for its convenience, Steak-'em ultimately failed to win over discerning palates with its lackluster taste and texture. Hi-C Ecto Cooler. Hi-C Ecto Cooler burst onto the scene, capitalizing on the popularity of the Ghostbusters franchise in the 1980s. Marketed as a tie-in to the beloved animated series, this brightly colored drink aimed to capture the imaginations of both children and fans alike. However, while the packaging may have been appealing, the taste left much to be desired for many consumers. Ecto Cooler was criticized for its overwhelming sweetness, which often felt artificial and cloying. Despite its vibrant hue and nostalgic association with Ghostbusters, the drink failed to win over discerning palates. Some argue that the emphasis on marketing overshadowed the quality of the product itself, leading to disappointment among those expecting a more satisfying beverage experience. As a result, Ecto Cooler became synonymous with flashy marketing tactics and lackluster flavor, earning its place among the worst foods that few would clamor to see make a comeback. Did canned Alligator face similar challenges in winning over consumers, or did its exotic allure carve a different path in the canned delicacies?
Look at that. So this is like a little stew or something, but I think it's mostly in sauce, and there's a big pieces of alligator.
Alligator. Introduced in the 1950s, canned alligator meat was an adventurous culinary option that never caught on. Marketed as an exotic delicacy, it appealed mainly to curious eaters and novelty seekers. At around $1.50 per can, canned alligator meat was more expensive than common canned meats like tuna or chicken in the 1960s. Despite its unique appeal, canned alligators faced significant hurdles. The texture, often compared to chewy chicken, did not resonate well with most consumers. Eating alligator was too exotic for many, limiting its market to a niche audience. Even in regions where alligator meat was more familiar, such as the southern United States, people preferred it fresh rather than canned. Efforts to boost its popularity included marketing campaigns highlighting its novelty and health benefits. However, these attempts fell short as consumers continued to find the texture unappetizing and the flavor needing improvement. By the 1980s, declining sales led to its discontinuation. Today, canned alligator meat is remembered as a peculiar and short-lived experiment in the canned food industry. PopTarts Snack Sticks. These bite-sized treats promise the same delicious PopTarts filling, but in a convenient, finger-shaped form. Imagine PopTarts miniaturized, perfect for throwing in a lunchbox or munching on between classes. While the concept seemed like a win for busy mornings, the execution fell short. Unlike the classic toaster treat, snack sticks lacked the satisfying crunch of a Pop-Tart's crust. Instead, they had a soft, cakey texture that left many wanting the familiar, flaky exterior. The filling, while still sweet and fruity, seemed less substantial in the smaller format, leaving some feeling unsatisfied. Perhaps the biggest drawback was the mess factor. Unlike the self-contained goodness of a Pop-Tart, snack sticks got crumbly and sticky easily. Eating them on the go often resulted in sugary residue on fingers and clothes, which is not exactly ideal for a busy school day. Pop-Tart snack sticks ultimately failed to capture the public's affection. They lacked the satisfying crunch and mess-free convenience that made the original Pop-Tarts a breakfast staple. New Coke. In 1985, Coca-Cola unveiled New Coke, a bold attempt to reinvigorate its brand and boost sales. However, the reformulation backfired spectacularly, sparking outrage among longtime fans of the original Coca-Cola. The new formula boasted a significantly sweeter taste, which many found to be off-putting and inferior to the classic flavor they knew and loved. Despite extensive market research and testing, New Coke failed to resonate with consumers, leading to a massive backlash. Coca-Cola faced widespread criticism and boycotts, with customers demanding the return of the original formula. The company eventually relented and reintroduced the original Coca-Cola as Coca-Cola Classic, acknowledging its mistake. New Coke's brief stint on the market served as a cautionary tale about the perils of tampering with beloved brands and flavors. Despite its intentions to revitalize the brand, New Coke ultimately became synonymous with corporate missteps and remains a cautionary tale in the annals of marketing history. AIDS Diet Candy. AIDS Diet Candy entered the market as a weight loss aid, offering consumers a sweet treat with the promise of appetite suppression. However, despite its intended purpose, AIDS faced numerous challenges. Many found the taste of the candy to be unpalatable, deterring repeat purchases. AIDS encountered a significant branding issue due to its unfortunate name similarity to the AIDS virus, which was gaining widespread attention and concern during that time. The association with the deadly disease led to a sharp decline in sales and public perception. Despite efforts to rebrand and distance itself from the negative connotations, AIDS Diet Candy struggled to overcome its tainted reputation. Eventually, the product faded into obscurity, becoming a cautionary tale of how a poorly chosen name can spell disaster for even the most well-intentioned products. The demise of AIDS Diet Candy serves as a reminder of the importance of careful branding and sensitivity to public perception in the food industry. So, from the ill-fated AIDS Diet Candy to the convenience of Steak-'em, the 1980s saw a range of products aiming to cater to evolving consumer needs. Let's explore how these products reflected changing attitudes toward health, convenience, and taste during that time. Lean Cuisine. Lean Cuisine made its debut as a convenient option for those seeking low-calorie frozen meals. Marketed as a healthier alternative to traditional frozen dinners, Lean Cuisine promised portion-controlled options without sacrificing taste. However, despite its health-conscious branding, early versions of Lean Cuisine received criticism for their bland and unsatisfying flavors. Many consumers found the meals to lack the robust taste and satisfying textures they desired, leaving them feeling underwhelmed after consumption. In spite of efforts to improve recipes and enhance flavors over the years, Lean Cuisine's reputation for mediocrity persisted throughout the decade. While it may have offered a convenient solution for calorie-conscious consumers, Lean Cuisine failed to deliver on the promise of enjoyable dining experiences. Lean Cuisine, a long-standing fixture in the frozen food aisle, has often been criticized for its underwhelming culinary experience. Despite its convenient and health-conscious branding, it has faced challenges in appealing to those with refined taste due to its uninspiring flavors and textures. Own Pringles Yogurt. Imagine a tub of creamy yogurt, but hidden beneath the surface lurked a treasure trove of brightly colored candy pieces. The commercials painted a picture of pure joy, kids flipping the lid to reveal a shower of sugary sprinkles. While the concept might have initially excited some youngsters, parents were not as easily swayed. Sure, the candy mix-ins were fun, but they also loaded the yogurt with unnecessary sugar and artificial colors. Health-conscious moms and dads saw right through the sugary facade. They weren't buying into a dessert disguised as breakfast. Own Pringles Yogurt became a symbol of the struggle between fun and healthy eating for kids. While the candy did add a playful element, it ultimately overshadowed the yogurt's nutritional benefits. Number 7. Orbit's Drink. The 1990s were a decade that embraced weirdness, and even beverages weren't spared. Let's imagine a clear, brightly colored liquid filled with bobbing spheres that looked like fish eggs. These weren't your average drink inclusions. They were gelatinous balls bursting with artificial fruit flavors. The idea might have sounded appealing, especially to kids. A drink that was like a party in your mouth. Sign them up. But the reality was far less exciting. The texture of the gummies was a major turnoff for many. They were oddly slimy and stuck together at the bottom of the cup, making for an uneven drinking experience. Some described it as like drinking lukewarm fish eyeballs. Even the flavors were suspect. The artificial fruit didn't quite hit the mark, leaving an unpleasant aftertaste. On top of that, the colors were so alien, bright purples, greens, and oranges, that they discouraged some from even trying the drink. Orbit's drink left consumers questioning the appeal of odd textures and flavors. Moving forward, let's talk about the fate of Butterfinger BBs. Squeeze It. Remember those neon lunches in the 90s? Squeeze It was a big part of that trend. These plastic bottles weren't just containers, they were cartoon characters with wacky faces begging to be squeezed. Kids loved the playful packaging, but what lurked inside wasn't exactly healthy food. Sure, the names were enticing, Chucklin' Cherry, Grumpy Grape, but these drinks were more sugar than actual fruit. One squeeze delivered a concentrated burst of sweetness with artificial colors just as vibrant as the bottles themselves. While some boasted mystery flavors hidden in black bottles, the thrill of the unknown wore off quickly once you tasted the overly sweet concoction. Squeeze It wasn't all bad. The squeezable bottles were undeniably fun, and parents appreciated the unbreakable design, perfect for lunchboxes. But the truth is, the sugary content overshadowed any positives.
Kids used to like fruit string things.
Oene Chips, Olestra. During that era, there was a surge in healthy snacks that promised guilt-free indulgence. One such example was Oene Chips. These chips boasted a revolutionary ingredient called Olestra, a fat substitute that made them seemingly magical, low in fat and calories, yet retaining the delicious crunch of a potato chip. On paper, it sounded perfect. Dieters rejoiced at the chance to enjoy their favorite snack without the usual guilt. But here's the catch. Olestra had a rather unpleasant side effect. For many, indulging in Oene chips resulted in a not-so-pleasant digestive experience, including cramps, bloating, and, well, let's just say a rapid exit for the chips. The internet exploded with tales of Oene-induced woes, turning the healthy snack into a national joke. Instead of reaching for a bag of Oenes, people opted for the real deal, even with the extra fat, figuring a little indulgence was better than a potential digestive disaster. Surge. This citrus-flavored soda promised a radical experience with its bright green color and bold, in-your-face marketing. Surge was all about being fully loaded. Loaded with citrus flavor, loaded with caffeine, and loaded with sugar. While it appealed to some teenagers seeking an energy boost, the loaded part ended up being a major turnoff for many. The intense citrus flavor could be a bit overwhelming, and the massive amount of sugar gave some a jittery high followed by a crashing low. With a whopping amount of caffeine, even exceeding a cup of coffee in some cases, Surge wasn't just a soda, it was a full-on energy drink before the energy drink category even boomed. This led to concerns from parents and health professionals worried about teenagers overloading on caffeine and sugar. Surge eventually fizzled out, a victim of its own intensity. Today's consumers have a wider variety of citrus-flavored sodas, and the focus on healthier options means they typically pack less sugar and caffeine. Wow Chips. These colorful, crinkled chips promised a guilt-free indulgence, boasting the same magic ingredient, Olestra, the fat substitute known for causing, well, let's just say, digestive distress. Wow Chips came in a variety of wacky flavors like Radical Ranch and totally tangy tomato, appealing directly to kids. But the fun flavors couldn't mask the underlying issue. The presence of Olestra made the chips taste somewhat greasy and artificial, despite being low in fat. More importantly, the potential for stomach upset loomed large, leading many to opt for regular chips with a bit more fat rather than risking a digestive disaster. Just like Oene Chips, Wow Chips became a cautionary tale about the pitfalls of sacrificing taste and comfort for a healthy label. The internet buzzed with stories of unfortunate after effects, and soon, the wow factor wore off. People opted for the familiar crunch and satisfaction of a regular potato chip, with the occasional greasy finger a small price to pay. Wow Chips faded into snacking history, a reminder that sometimes the healthy option isn't so healthy after all, especially when it comes to our stomachs. As Wow Chips suffered from the consequences of Olestra, one may wonder if McDonald's Pizza would encounter similar fate. facing rejection due to its lackluster taste and prioritization of convenience over quality.
For those who said you'd never be able to get fresh-made oven-baked pizza.
Shark Bites fruit snacks. Remember those bright green boxes filled with the gummy shark teeth lining supermarket shelves in the 90s? Those were Shark Bites, a fruit snack that promised a fun and flavorful treat, but delivered more on the fun side and less on the flavorful one. Shaped like miniature shark teeth, because, you know, healthy snacks need a connection to potentially dangerous predators, Shark Bites came in a variety of artificial fruit flavors, like mystery berry and ferociously fake grape. The problem? The taste rarely lived up to the names. They were more like vaguely sweet, vaguely fruity erasers. But the lack of flavor wasn't the only issue. Shark Bites were notoriously tough. Chewing through them became a jaw workout, leaving some kids with sore teeth and longing for a softer, juicier fruit snack. The bright colors also hinted at the generous amount of artificial dyes used, making some parents wary of the overall healthiness of the product. While the shark-themed packaging might have initially captured kids' attention, the lack of flavor and tough texture quickly turned them away. Today's parents have a wider variety of delicious and healthy fruit snack options that don't require a trip to the dentist after every lunchbox. Shark Bites remain a reminder that even the coolest-looking snacks need to taste good and be chewable to win over taste buds in the long run.
Flavorful morsel of meat, you can smell the hickory, oak, and applewood and taste the rare herbs and spices required for its cure.
Cream Possum. Cream Possum, a novelty canned food item, appeared briefly in the mid-20th century. Sold mainly as a gag gift or novelty item rather than a serious culinary choice, it typically cost around $2 to $3 per can. Despite its low price, Cream Possum never gained widespread popularity due to its unusual concept of possum meat served in a creamy sauce. While possums are sometimes eaten in certain cultures, the idea of consuming them in a canned cream form was met with skepticism and often revulsion by consumers. Its sales were limited, primarily appealing to adventurous eaters or those seeking a quirky gift. With its niche appeal and lack of mainstream acceptance, Cream Possum quickly faded into obscurity, becoming a curious footnote in the history of canned foods. Today, it's remembered more for its novelty than any culinary merit.
It's been a while, but I want to make a quick video to try out turtle soup.
Rattlesnake. Canned rattlesnake, an unusual offering in the world of canned foods, appeared sporadically in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Typically priced at around $3 to $4 per can, it was considered a novelty item rather than a mainstream food choice. Despite its unique selling point of containing rattlesnake meat, it has yet to become popular due to its exotic nature and consumers' apprehension about consuming snake meat. The rattlesnake meat was often preserved in a salty brine, which helped retain its flavor and texture. While some adventurous eaters may have been intrigued by exotic meat, most consumers hesitated to enter unfamiliar culinary territory. As taste and preferences evolved and concerns about wildlife conservation grew, rattlesnake meat consumption became increasingly uncommon. Consequently, canned rattlesnakes disappeared from shelves, becoming a curious relic of the past rather than a staple of modern cuisine.
Today we have Salisbury Farm whole peeled lamb tongues.
Lamb tongue. Canned lamb tongue, an unusual canned food item, first appeared in the mid-20th century, typically during the 1950s and 60s. Priced at around $1 or $2 per can, it was considered an affordable yet niche product. However, the canned lamb tongue never gained widespread popularity due to its unconventional nature. The product consisted of lamb tongue meat preserved in brine or gelatin, resulting in a unique texture and flavor. While some adventurous eaters may have been intrigued by tongue meat, the concept put most consumers off. As culinary preferences evolved and consumers became more discerning, sales of canned lamb tongues dwindled, eventually leading to their disappearance from shelves. Today, it's mainly remembered as a curious relic of the mid-20th century canned food scene, with few expressing nostalgia for its return. The canned lamb tongue serves as a reminder of the diverse array of canned foods that have come and gone throughout history. Haggus. Haggus, a traditional Scottish dish made from sheep's heart, liver, and lungs mixed with onions, oatmeal, and spices, found its way into cans in the mid-20th century. Initially, it was marketed as a convenient way for expatriates and curious food enthusiasts to enjoy this classic meal without elaborate preparation. During the 60s and 70s, canned haggis were available in supermarkets in the UK and abroad, priced at around 50 cents per can, which was relatively affordable back then. Despite its cultural significance in Scotland, canned haggis never gained widespread popularity. Many people found the idea of eating sheep organs off-putting, and the texture of the canned version didn't compare favorably to the freshly prepared haggis. Moreover, the appearance and smell of the canned product were often described as rancid, further limiting its appeal. Some manufacturers have tried to improve their recipes and packaging to attract more customers. They added more spices and created more visually appealing labels, but these efforts needed more success. By the late 80s, sales of canned haggis had dwindled significantly, leading most companies to discontinue the product. Canned haggis remains a quirky footnote in the history of canned foods. Enthusiasts who crave authentic haggis prefer to prepare it fresh or purchase it from specialty shops, leaving the canned version to fade into obscurity. After you reflect on the fate of canned haggis, Armadillo Meat. Canned armadillo meat hit the market in the 1950s with its distinct gamey flavor. Priced at around $1 per can, it was marketed as an exotic delicacy for adventurous eaters. Initially, it sparked curiosity and had a niche following, especially among those interested in unusual meats. Even with its intriguing premise, canned armadillo meat faced several challenges. The gamey flavor was off-putting to many, and the texture did not compare favorably to more common meats. Additionally, eating armadillo needed to be more varied for the average consumer, further limiting its appeal. Efforts to popularize it through novelty and gourmet food markets could have been more successful. By the 1970s, sales had significantly declined, leading to its discontinuation. With adventurous eaters sampling canned armadillo meat in the 1950s, did its unique flavor inspire any culinary innovations akin to the unconventional appeal of Fishballs? Primo Italian sausage patties. Primo Italian sausage patties came forth as a convenient option for those craving Italian flavors without the hassle of traditional preparation. While they didn't evoke universal disdain, these sausage patties faced criticism from some consumers. One common complaint was their greasy texture, with some finding them to be overly oily and heavy. In addition, the flavor of Primo Italian sausage patties was often deemed artificial by critics, lacking the authentic taste of homemade Italian sausage. Despite attempts to capture the essence of Italian cuisine, these patties fell short for some consumers. While they may have offered convenience, the greasy texture and artificial flavor of Primo Italian sausage patties ultimately earned them a place among the worst foods. Hines Easy Squirt Colored Ketchup. Mealtime got a wild makeover with Hines Easy Squirt Colored Ketchup. Imagine ditching the traditional red for a blast of green, a shocking pink, or even a mysterious purple. This condiment aimed to make ketchup fun for kids with its easy squirt bottle shaped perfectly for little hands. The commercials were a spectacle, featuring characters like Shrek to promote their blasted green ketchup. While the novelty factor was undeniable, the reality wasn't quite as rosy, or should we say purple. To achieve those outrageous colors, Heinz had to remove the natural red color from the regular ketchup and add a ton of artificial dyes. This not only changed the appearance, but also affected the taste. Many complained it just wasn't the same ketchup they knew and loved. Cereal straws. The 1990s saw a weird trend of turning breakfast into a science experiment. One such example is cereal straws. They weren't your average straws for sipping juice. Made of compressed cereal, they were meant to be dunked in milk, adding flavor as you sucked up your breakfast drink. Imagine a straw that tasted like your favorite sugary cereal. While the novelty might have been exciting for some kids, the reality was a bit soggy. The straws quickly became mushy and fell apart, leaving behind a sugary residue in your milk. Even worse, the flavors didn't always translate well. A chocolate-flavored straw might leave your milk tasting vaguely brown, and a fruity one could turn your milk into an unappetizing shade of pink. cereal straws were a messy and not so tasty attempt to combine breakfast and fun, and thankfully, they haven't made a comeback. They serve as a reminder that sometimes the good old bowl and spoon method is the best way to enjoy your favorite cereal. Sea urchin. Canned sea urchins featuring robust and salty sea urchins were introduced to the market during the 60s. Priced around $2 per can, they were considered a gourmet item for adventurous food lovers and those seeking exotic seafood. Initially, they enjoyed great popularity, especially among fans of Japanese cuisine where sea urchin or uni is a delicacy. However, the transition from fresh to canned could have gone better. The texture of canned sea urchin roe often became mushy, and the strong, salty flavor intensified in the canning process, making it too overpowering for many palates. Unlike fresh sea urchin, which has a delicate creamy taste, the canned version failed to capture the same culinary appeal. Efforts to broaden its appeal by marketing it as a luxury item or incorporating it into gourmet recipes did little to boost its popularity. By the 1980s, as fresh seafood became more accessible and consumers grew more discerning, the demand for canned sea urchins dwindled. Canned sea urchin is a forgotten product, remembered only by culinary adventurers and seafood enthusiasts. Its decline underscores the challenge of preserving the subtle qualities of gourmet foods in a can, leading to its fade into obscurity in the canned food aisle. Pepsi. In the late 1980s, the idea for Crystal Pepsi was born, eventually hitting the shelves in 1992. This clear cola was touted as a revolutionary departure from traditional sodas, offering consumers a unique and visually striking beverage experience. However, despite its initial novelty, Crystal Pepsi failed to capture the lasting interest of consumers. Many found the taste of Crystal Pepsi to be too similar to regular Pepsi, leading to confusion and a lack of differentiation, with some consumers being put off by the idea of a clear cola associating the beverage's color with a lack of flavor or unnatural ingredients. As a result, Crystal Pepsi quickly lost its appeal and was discontinued just a few years after its launch. Despite attempts to capitalize on the trend of clear beverages, Crystal Pepsi ultimately failed to carve out a lasting niche in the soda market, cementing its status as one of the worst foods that only some would want to make a comeback. Sloppy Joes in high school cafeterias. Sloppy Joes in high school cafeterias were a common sight during the 1980s, but they rarely garnered much excitement from students. The dish, consisting of ground meat and a tomato-based sauce served on a bun, often left much to be desired. Students frequently complained about the questionable quality of the meat used, with its texture sometimes resembling more mystery than substance. Additionally, the sauce tended to veer toward extremes, either overly sweet or bland, rarely hitting that right balance. Many students found themselves disappointed by the flavor and unappealing appearance of the Sloppy Joes, opting instead for alternatives like pizza or sandwiches. Despite attempts by cafeteria staff to improve the recipe, the dish remained a low point in many students' lunchtime experiences. Its reputation for mediocrity persisted throughout the decade, earning it a spot among the worst foods of the era. Even now, nostalgia fails to redeem the Sloppy Joe from its status as a culinary disappointment of the past. Dr. Pepper Gum. Dr. Pepper Gum came out as an innovative attempt to capture the essence of the popular soda in chewable form. The gum boasted a liquid center designed to replicate the distinct taste of Dr. Pepper, offering consumers a novel sensory experience. However, despite its creative concept, the gum failed to gain lasting popularity. Many who tried it found the flavor to be disappointingly short-lived, quickly fading away after just a few chews. Furthermore, some felt that the gum didn't quite capture the true essence of Dr. Pepper, leading to a sense of dissatisfaction among customers. In spite of the initial intrigue, the novelty of Dr. Pepper gum wore off quickly, and it soon became classified into the realm of forgotten snacks. While the idea of soda-flavored gum was intriguing, the execution ultimately fell short of expectations, highlighting the challenges of translating iconic flavors into alternative formats. The McDLT. In that era, McDonald's introduced the McDLT, a burger designed to keep the lettuce and tomato cool while the patty stayed hot. This innovative packaging approach aimed to maintain the freshness of the toppings until consumption. However, despite its novel concept, the McDLT faced criticism on multiple fronts. The elaborate packaging, which separated the hot and cold ingredients, resulted in excessive waste and environmental concerns. Furthermore, while the idea of a freshly assembled burger was appealing, the taste and quality of the McDLT could have been better for many customers. Some found the burger to need more flavor and texture, failing to live up to the standards set by other McDonald's menu items. Additionally, the McDLT's complicated packaging made it less convenient than traditional burger options, further diminishing its appeal. Ultimately, the McDLT became a symbol of misguided innovation and environmental disregard, earning its place among the worst foods that were left in the past. Then, from the excessive packaging of the McDLT to the disastrous reformulation of New Coke, the era witnessed ambitious attempts to redefine iconic products. Then, how did these endeavors reflect the era's appetite for innovation and consumer preferences? Sizzling. Sizzling emerged as a promising option for health-conscious consumers seeking an alternative to traditional bacon. Marketed as a turkey-based product, Sizzling promised lower fat content and fewer calories than its pork counterpart. However, despite its health claims, Sizzling failed to win over taste buds. Many found its flavor and texture to be lacking compared to the rich, savory taste of bacon. Sizzling's attempt to replicate the crispy texture of bacon fell short, leaving consumers disappointed with its chewy and unappealing consistency. Despite efforts to position itself as a healthier choice, Sizzling struggled to compete with the allure of traditional bacon, which remained the preferred option for many households. Its lackluster taste and texture ultimately relegated Sizzling to the ranks of forgotten food. While the idea of a healthier bacon alternative was appealing, Sizzling failed to deliver on its promises, leaving behind a legacy of culinary disappointment. Carnation Breakfast Bars. Carnation breakfast bars hit the shelves, aiming to provide a quick and nutritious breakfast solution for busy consumers. Marketed as a convenient option for those on the go, these bars promise to deliver essential nutrients in a portable format. However, despite their health-oriented branding, Carnation breakfast bars face criticism from many consumers. One common complaint was their dry and crumbly texture, which made it easier for them to enjoy with a beverage to wash them down. Additionally, the bars were often described as having an artificial taste and lacking the satisfying flavor of natural ingredients. Despite efforts to improve the recipe and enhance the taste and texture, Carnation breakfast bars failed to gain widespread popularity. While they may have offered convenience, their lackluster flavor and texture ultimately relegated them to the ranks of the worst foods. Despite their intentions to provide a nutritious breakfast option, Carnation breakfast bars failed to deliver a satisfying eating experience for many consumers. Right after Carnation breakfast bars, how did banquet boiling bags epitomize the 1980s trend of convenience-oriented food products, and what were the key factors that led to their lack of popularity among consumers? Bagel Bites. Bagel Bites came out of the 1980s as a popular snack option, particularly beloved for their convenience and appeal to children. These bite-sized treats promised the flavors of pizza on miniature bagels, making them a hit for quick and easy snacking. However, despite their widespread popularity, Bagel Bites faced criticism from some quarters. Critics often pointed out the challenge of achieving the perfect texture when cooking them, with the mini bagels prone to become either too hard or too soggy if not prepared just right. Some found the taste of Bagel Bites to be lacking compared to traditional pizza, with their flavors sometimes falling flat. Despite these criticisms, Bagel Bites maintained their status as a go-to snack option for many families throughout the decade. While they may have offered convenience and novelty, Bagel Bites ultimately failed to deliver the satisfying taste and texture that discerning snackers craved, earning them a place among the worst foods. Fruit Wrinkles. Fruit Wrinkles emerged as a fruit snack aiming to tap into the health-conscious trend by presenting itself as a more natural alternative. Marketed as a healthier option compared to traditional sugary snacks, Fruit Wrinkles boasted a simpler ingredient list and the appeal of real fruit flavors. Nonetheless, notwithstanding its health-oriented branding, Fruit Wrinkles failed to win over consumers. Many found the texture of the snack to be strange and unappealing, with some likening it to chewy rubber. Additionally, the flavors of Fruit Wrinkles were often criticized for being lackluster and artificial, failing to deliver the vibrant taste of real fruit. Despite efforts to position itself as a wholesome snack choice, Fruit Wrinkles struggled to compete with other, more popular options in the market. Ultimately, its strange texture and disappointing flavors relegated Fruit Wrinkles to the ranks of the worst foods that are best left forgotten. Despite its attempt to capitalize on the health wave, Fruit Wrinkles needed to gain traction among consumers looking for satisfying snack options. Banquet Boiling Bags. Banquet boiling bags entered the scene as a convenient meal option for busy households. These prepackaged meals promised easy preparation. Simply boil the bag and serve. However, despite their convenience, banquet boiling bags face criticism for their lackluster quality. One common complaint was the soggy texture that resulted from boiling the entire meal together in the bag. Many found the vegetables and proteins to be overcooked and mushy, lacking the distinct textures and flavors found in freshly prepared dishes. The flavors of banquet boiling bags are often blended, resulting in a bland and unappealing taste experience. Despite attempts to offer a convenient meal solution, banquet boiling bags failed to deliver on the promise of satisfying dining experiences. Their soggy textures and indistinct flavors ultimately relegated them to the list of worst foods. While they may have offered convenience, banquet boiling bags needed to provide the quality and flavor that consumers desired in their meals. Hubba Bubba Soda. Hubba Bubba Soda, like its counterpart Bubble Yum Soda, aimed to transform a beloved gum flavor into a drinkable form. This beverage sought to capture the essence of Hubba Bubba gum in a refreshing soda. However, despite its ambition, Hubba Bubba Soda needed to gain traction among consumers. Many found the taste of the soda to be underwhelming and far removed from the satisfying flavor of the gum. Some people argued that the attempt to replicate the bubblegum flavor in a carbonated beverage resulted in an artificial and cloying taste. In spite of efforts to capitalize on the popularity of Hubba Bubba gum, the soda failed to resonate with consumers, ultimately facing the same fate as its predecessor, Bubble Yum Soda. Its inability to capture the essence of the beloved gum left Hubba Bubba Soda languishing among the worst foods that few would want to revisit. While it may have been a creative idea, Hubba Bubba Soda fell short of delivering a refreshing and satisfying drinking experience. Then, following Hubba Bubba Soda, Pudding Pops attempted to capitalize on popular flavors and formats at the time. But what were the main reasons behind their lack of success in satisfying consumers' expectations? Bubble Yum Soda. Bubble Yum Soda came forth as a beverage attempt to capitalize on the popularity of Bubble Yum gum. The idea was to translate the beloved taste of bubble yum into a liquid form, offering consumers a unique and nostalgic drinking experience. However, despite its ambitious concept, Bubble Yum Soda failed to resonate with consumers. Many found the taste of the soda to be odd or unappealing, lacking the familiar and satisfying flavor of the gum. Some critics argued that the carbonation of the soda clashed with the sugary sweetness of the Bubble Yum flavor, resulting in a discordant taste experience. Even with attempts to leverage the popularity of Bubble Yum gum, Bubble Yum Soda struggled to find a place in the beverage market. Its failure to capture the essence of the beloved gum ultimately relegated it to the ranks of the worst foods that few would want to see make a comeback. While it may have been a novel idea, Bubble Yum Soda failed to deliver on the promise of a satisfying drinking experience. Pudding Pops. Pudding Pops, a beloved treat, evokes nostalgic memories for many. However, not all recollections are positive. While some cherish the creamy texture and indulgent flavor, others recall a less satisfying experience. Critics often pointed out that Pudding Pops didn't quite live up to their creamy promise, with some finding them to be icier than expected. The flavor of Pudding Pops was sometimes criticized for tasting artificial, lacking the richness of real pudding. Despite attempts to replicate the creamy goodness of pudding in frozen form, Pudding Pops fell short for some consumers. Pudding Pops, with their nostalgic charm, have been critiqued for their texture and taste, landing them among less favored desserts. They held a special place in some hearts, yet they did not meet the expectations of a luxurious creamy treat. Chef Boyardee anything. Chef Boyardee products held a prominent place in many households, offering a convenient and affordable option for quick meals. However, despite their widespread popularity, Chef Boyardee's items often face criticism for their lackluster quality. One common complaint was the mushy texture of the pasta found in these canned meals, with many finding it unappealing and overcooked. The sauces in Chef Boyardee's products were often ridiculed for their overly sweet taste and tinny flavor, lacking the depth and richness of homemade sauces. Despite their convenience, Chef Boyardee's items failed to deliver the satisfying taste and texture that consumers desired in their meals. While they may have provided a quick and easy solution for busy families, the mushy pasta and artificial tasting sauces ultimately earned Chef Boyardee products a spot among the worst foods from the 1980s. Despite their nostalgic appeal, many would prefer to leave these canned meals in the past and opt for fresher and more flavorful alternatives. Doritos 3D. Doritos decided to tamper with a classic, the Dorito itself. Enter Doritos 3D. These chips promised a whole new experience with their bold, geometric shapes. Imagine a Dorito puffed up like a miniature mountain range. Sadly, the 3D design turned out to be a major drawback. The puffs meant less chip in each bite, leaving many unsatisfied. They were like inflated versions of the original, offering less crunch and a weaker punch of that cheesy goodness Doritos fans have craved. The bold geometric shape also seemed to confuse the flavor, making it less intense and leaving some tasters feeling like they were just chewing on air. While the 3D concept might have seemed futuristic and exciting at first, it turns out there's a reason the classic Dorito design has remained a chip icon for so long. So sometimes you just can't improve on a perfect triangle. Doritos eventually discontinued the 3D experiment, proving that even for a beloved snack like Doritos, there can be such a thing as too much change. As Doritos 3D left snack enthusiasts questioning its odd design, did cereal straws suffer a similar fate? Lacking the satisfaction of tradition. Pizza Hut's Bigfoot Pizza. Remember those childhood sleepovers where pizza seemed to disappear magically? Well, Pizza Hut aimed to solve that problem, or maybe create a bigger one, with their Bigfoot Pizza of the 1990s. This wasn't your average large pie. We're talking about a rectangular monster, 2 square feet of cheesy goodness. The commercials boasted it was bigger than Pizza, promising to feed a crowd with its 21 slices. While the novelty factor was undeniable, imagine showing up to a party with a pizza bigger than a car door. The practicality quickly worn thin. Delivery guys struggled to fit it through doorways, and even the most enthusiastic pizza lovers found it overwhelming. The sheer size meant uneven cooking, with floppy edges and a soggy middle. Plus, with so much pizza, variety went out the window. You were stuck with just 3 toppings across that massive canvas. Gratefully, the Bigfoot Pizza became extinct, leaving behind a cheesy memory of a time when bigger wasn't necessarily better. Butterfinger BBS. These bite-sized treats were a dream come true for some fans. They offer the same delicious Butterfinger flavor in a convenient pop-in-your-mouth package, perfect for snacking on the go. However, the BBs weren't without their flaws. The chocolate coating, notoriously melty on the original bar, became an even bigger issue with the BBs. Popping a handful in your mouth often resulted in chocolate-covered fingers and a sticky mess. Some also found the smaller size less satisfying, missing the heft and delightful chomp of a full-size Butterfinger. While the BBs had their fans, their eventual discontinuation suggests they weren't a universal hit. Perhaps the mess factor and lack of the classic bar experience outweighed the convenience for many. Today, Butterfinger offers similar bite-size options, but the BBs remain a nostalgic memory for those who loved, or at least tolerated, the melty, peanut buttery fun they offered. Fruit String Thing. It's a 90s kids lunchbox staple that was more about the fun than the actual fruit. They contained a wiggly, string-shaped fruit paste that unfurled like a Technicolor party streamer. The concept was ingenious, edible play, and a, supposedly, healthy snack all in one. The fun factor often overshadowed the somewhat questionable nutritional value. While marketed as a fruity treat, the string things were mostly sugar, with minimal real fruit content. The flavor, while vaguely fruity, couldn't compete with the pure joy of unraveling the string into loopy shapes, building edible bridges, or even tying it around your finger like a sugary jump rope. Lunchtime became playtime, and sometimes the actual eating part was neglected altogether. For parents, the mess factor was another hurdle. Unraveling the string often led to sticky fingers and lunchbox carnage. And let's not forget the inevitable fight between siblings over who got the longer string. As the fruit string thing's playful allure overshadowed its nutritional value, whether Oene Chips face a similar fate, trading taste for a dubious health promise. McDonald's Arch Deluxe. The 1996 launch of McDonald's Arch Deluxe was a gamble on grown-up taste buds. They aimed to shed their image of a strictly kid-focused restaurant by introducing a more sophisticated burger. The Arch Deluxe boasted fancy ingredients: a quarter-pound beef patty topped with lettuce, tomato, red onion, cheddar cheese, a creamy herb sauce, all nestled in a sourdough bun. While the ingredients sounded promising, the execution fell flat. The price tag, significantly higher than McDonald's usual offerings, alienated budget-minded customers. Adults, who the fancier ingredients might have tempted, balked at paying a premium for a fast food burger. On the other hand, the commercials featuring kids grossed out by the sophisticated flavors confused their core audience of families. The marketing campaign, coupled with a higher price and just okay taste, doomed the Arch Deluxe. People realized they could get a similar and perhaps even tastier burger elsewhere for the same price, or get a classic McDonald's meal for much less. The Arch Deluxe became a symbol of McDonald's failed attempt to be something it wasn't. In the end, people craved either a delicious and affordable meal or a truly gourmet burger experience, and the Arch Deluxe fell awkwardly in between. Lunchables. These brightly colored compartments promised a complete lunch all in one box. Tiny squares of pizza, processed cheese slices, mystery meat lunch meat, and maybe some crackers or a juice box. For kids, it was a dream come true, a self-contained lunchbox adventure. However, for parents, convenience comes with nutritional cost. Those little squares of pizza were often greasy and lacking in real vegetables. The lunch meat, sometimes adorned with an unnatural shade of pink, raised questions about its origin. And don't forget the sugary drink or dessert that often rounded out the meal. While the portions were small, they were often packed with sodium, fat, and sugar, not exactly the fuel growing bodies need. While Lunchables might have been a lifesaver for busy parents, the lack of fresh ingredients and focus on convenience over nutrition eventually caught up with them. Today's parents are more health conscious, opting for packable lunches that prioritize whole foods and a balanced diet. Lunchables are still around, but their popularity has waned as parents seek out healthier options that don't require a tiny plastic tray and a cartoon character on the box. McDonald's Pizza. Believe it or not, McDonald's wasn't always just about burgers and fries. Back in the 1980s and early 90s, they attempted to branch out into the world of pizza. Imagine pulling up to the Golden Arches and grabbing a piping hot pizza instead of a Big Mac. Sounds convenient, right? Well, that was the idea. The problem? McDonald's pizza wasn't exactly gourmet. It wasn't made fresh in store. It came pre-made and frozen, then reheated in special ovens. This resulted in a pizza that lacked the crispy crust and melty cheese that true pizza lovers crave. The toppings were also basic, with options like pepperoni and sausage that, while familiar, weren't exactly exciting. While the McDonald's pizza might have been a quick and somewhat affordable option, it just couldn't compete with real pizza places. Why settle for a pre-made option when you could have a fresh, delicious pizza from a dedicated pizzeria? People realized they were better off waiting a few extra minutes for a tastier experience. McDonald's pizza quietly disappeared from the menu, a reminder that even fast food giants can make menu mistakes. Thankfully for pizza lovers, the classic like burgers and fries remained, proving that sometimes it's best to stick to what you do well. Jell-O Salad Gelatin. Imagine a wobbly, brightly colored mold on your dinner table, not filled with fruit and whipped cream, but with vegetables, meats, and sometimes even seafood suspended in a jiggly mass. The idea was to create a festive and visually appealing side dish. Recipes featuring molded carrots, peas, and celery cubes promised a fun and colorful addition to any potluck. However, the reality was often unappetizing. The sweetness of the gelatin clashed with the savory flavors of the ingredients, creating a confusing and unpalatable experience. Vegetables like peas took on an artificial sheen when suspended in the gelatin, and meats like cubed ham or chicken seemed oddly rubbery. Even the most dedicated Jell-O fans struggled to embrace the savory versions. The sweet and savory combination just wasn't something that most taste buds were willing to accept. Jell-O salad gelatin became a well-meaning but ultimately unsuccessful attempt to expand the brand's reach.